this video, I'm only going to be using green oil pastels. So this is the reference I'll be following. As you can see, there are some different colors compared to the ones I'll be using. But before I dive into that, I'm going to start by putting on gloves and doing a color swatch on a marker. Since I'll be using a pink marker as the base for this piece, I think it's really going to help me keep the image from looking too flat. Right now, I'm just figuring out which colors are actually green and which ones lean more blue, so I can get rid of the blue ones. You can kind of see on my swatch card that I do have some blue ones mixed in there. I am going to start with a marker because it's definitely easy and it's also a part of my habit and now part of my process. I don't have to overthink it. I can just lay things down. Something I always tend to forget is that not to really press against the washi tape, because at the end of this I can see how much it bled through and I don't really realize it when I'm doing it because I'm just overall excited to see the piece finished and to get started. So by the time I notice, it doesn't even matter anymore. I'm starting off with a really bright green, like a green screen green. I don't know how many times I've said green in that sentence, but I kind of like it. My rough sketch helps me at the beginning, and then by the time I'm done placing all the colors and I have to really figure out where the reference tells me to put the lights from the darks, instead of just mapping things out and figuring out where the light source comes from, I kind of toss it in the trash in the moment because I'm overall enjoying the process. I would say blending is my favorite part of this whole process. Once everything blends together, it gives me a lot of hope that I didn't completely mess up my color choices. It also makes all the mistakes feel like they disappear and tells me that the next stage is gonna be okay and things are gonna go as I planned. At that point, when it comes to the details and the layering, I do have to be very intentional because the first layer is kind of like, okay, you made some mistakes and we can blend it. But after that, it's like, okay, you're in the game now, so make sure that it does make sense. I'm also very forgetful about working from top to bottom, right to left. Usually when I start a piece, I'm mostly just excited to get the best looking part of my process done so that I can admire it. So I don't really take my own advice, which I should, because what's the point of giving it if you're not taking it? One of the reasons I was very inspired to do this challenge was mostly because Drawing with Waffles and Jawza, I really like how they did their videos, so this is me trying to put my own spin on it. I don't know if it's working, but I'm definitely trying. Why I chose green? Mostly because the pastels that I have, all the other colors have half of what the green palette has. So if you look at the greens, they fill up like one side. All the other colors I have only fill up a half of that. So if I continue to do this challenge, I think it'll be definitely more of a challenge because I don't have as many colors to go through. It would be more complicated. When I was working on the lollipop stick inside the candy, I realized that I needed to add this key detail. And I'm very happy that I reminded myself to do it because I think if I wouldn't have made this small change, I think it would have made a huge difference. So I'm very proud that I took a look at the reference really close and added it. You'll see eventually what I'm talking about. It's mostly where the lollipop ends and the stick starts. I think that little line that separates them really made the piece come together, which I wanted it to look as realistic as possible, and I don't know if I really achieved that. I will say that I love the blending process. It doesn't feel like I'm scraping color. It feels like I'm mixing it. It's kind of like paint. You know, before you put it on the canvas, how you blend it with the brush, how it just feels really fun. That's kind of what it feels like. Ironically though, I don't really enjoy painting because every time I've tried it, I think I've not been successful at it. I don't know if it's because I only try it once, like I tell myself I shouldn't do. My mistakes end up defining the rest of the process on how I look at these tools, on how I'm gonna go about using them. I'm not saying that I won't try in the future because I feel like that would be fun to try in the future again and to give it a chance. But for now, it's definitely not my favorite. I'm also still figuring out how much I can really do on my small index card. I am very excited though to move into a sketchbook. You have no idea how excited I am to get a larger surface and to really focus on the texture, the details, the composition. It's something that I get excited about every time I finish one of these. I'm very excited to see what all of these pieces will look like together, but I'm very excited to see what I can make on a larger surface. I don't know why. It's the most exciting thing of all of this. My plan for all the tiny little pieces is to lay them out and eventually frame them to see how they look as a collection. And I've also been thinking about incorporating my channel name into it on some cards, maybe doing like different color challenges like blue or pink. I know I don't have that wide of a variety of a palette, but still figuring something out so that I can either arrange them by color, or I can arrange them by how I progressed, or just do my channel name in the center and then have all these images around them. I feel like that would be really cool. It's just an idea I've been playing with, really. The only struggle with drawing text, the only thing I struggle with when it comes to drawing fonts is every letter has to be very consistent with the next one, right? And I feel like every time I try to create a font, they're not consistent at all and it really bothers me. So I think if I do this idea, it has to be with a template and it has to be a different style than what I'm used to. I usually go with like a bubbly font, and I used to do that a lot in high school, so I feel like that's really not what I want to aim for. I want to aim for something a little bit different. So if I do this, it would definitely be a challenge. However, I think it would be worth it, and I think I would definitely have to experiment with the fonts a little and figure out how to get them right. Friends, I'm also still figuring out how I feel about talking through the entirety of this video. I know I need practice, so I do appreciate if you're still here and you have the patience to listen to me. I know I'm a bit rusty. I'm just trying not to rely too much on music because I know that can get boring too, and I'm also trying to avoid using anything that's copyright. So I'm kind of in this weird middle ground area, figuring out what you guys enjoy and also what works best for me. But back to the piece, there is one color here that I really don't like throughout this process, and I can't fully explain it. It just felt off. It was too dark and it didn't really sit well with the pink and the lollipops, but I didn't have that big of a variety, so I just went with it anyway. And it's mostly the green that I'm using for the shadows. It's not my favorite, but I mean, I didn't have much options, so I just went with it regardless. And I will say that the colors you're seeing on the screen look 10 times brighter than they do in real life. And I find it funny because in person, they're much more muted. On camera, they kind of look too vibrant, and the candy doesn't really look real. It kind of looks like fake and artificial, which is kind of annoying because if you were to look at the real picture, I feel like then you'd understand where I'm coming from. I will say that my favorite part about this piece is definitely the lollipop on the left. I don't know what it is, I just love it. It looks very realistic to me, and I know that green lollipops are my favorite. I usually go for red because if I had to choose, I'd probably pick butterscotch, and that does fall into the yellow category, so maybe I could do something like that. But since I already did a lollipop, I don't think I'll be doing lollipops again. And because I like butterscotch, I've told several people that I like butterscotch, and usually what happens is they call me an old lady, but I don't care because I could essentially eat 50 butterscotch lollipops and I'd be happy. Since we're on the topic of talking about sweets, I'm curious to know, are you more of a sweet or salty person in the morning? Because I will always choose something that's savory for breakfast. I like some eggs, some rice, some beans, tortillas, a whole hamburger. Meanwhile, I know people that love like pancakes, waffles, they'll eat like cake in the morning. I need something that's like more sodium based. I also can't mix sweet and salty foods. Like chocolate covered pretzels, I can't do it. I have to eat them separately. So let me know down in the comments what type of person you are in the morning. However, going back to the drawing, I will say that towards the end of this video, I don't know what part we're at right now because I'm doing the voiceover separately from me doing the art. I will say that during this whole video, I did incorporate some white for the details because I couldn't get the greens that I had to make the details any lighter. So I did incorporate some white. I know that's kind of like cheating, which I apologize. I didn't use too much of it. I didn't use any other color besides the white one because I definitely wanted to emphasize that this is kind of aiming for a realistic look, and I know my focus should be trying to stay within the guidelines of the challenge, but I'm hoping you guys can let this one slide because overall I think it looks good. And I will say that the video is very deceiving compared to the real life, and I know I mentioned that a couple times, but I'm being 100% true on that. This is how it turned out overall. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think of the piece and if you want me to continue this challenge with the other colors. Don't forget to let me know if you are a sweet or salty person for breakfast. With that being said, this is the overall results of just using green pastels and maybe a pink marker and a white pastel. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.